Back, Martha's Vineyard Poet Laureate, for joining us today. My name is William Waterway, and we're here at MVTV broadcasting live in celebration of Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy your Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. Read a poem to someone you know. I'm sure they'll enjoy it. Their poem. And so that is why it is called Poem in Your Pocket Day. And today, broadcasting live from MVTV, we're very thankful to have MVTV to allow us to go live with a program like this. This is very rare for community television. But with what we have here in this studio, our digital studio, we can now broadcast live an event like this. So with me, I have my friend Barbara. Barbara, introduce yourself.
I'm Pope Peckham, and I've lived on the island permanently for about 12 years now, but we've been coming for many years, and I've been inspired by the island and by the writing groups here. It's a wonderful place to live.
And Barbara is an amazing poet. Over the years, I've heard Barbara do a lot of reading. She's an entertaining poet. She's been a guest at Cleveland House Poets. And Barbara's going to share a few of her poems that she's written.
Over the years.
Over the years. She's written thousands, but she selected 4 to share today on Poem in Your Pocket Day.
These 4 that I've picked are ones that I took out this morning thinking they would be lighter and shorter to recite at someplace store or whatever. And I went today to Reliable Market, and I went to the bakery, and I went to Linda Jean's restaurant, and I got wonderful reception. People were pleased and excited. Anyway, these 4, one is called Me. The body people never see is the one I keep inside of me. I know they see me getting old with hair no longer quite so gold. Perhaps my back is not as straight. Maybe they say I have to wait and walk, not run across the street to see a friend I want to meet. My face has wrinkles now, I know, and some things have sagged a bit below. But this is not the one I see inside my mind. It isn't me. When I'm not looking in the glass, I never feel the years have passed. The inner me says I could run around the block and just for fun ride my bike till twilight's calling, or climb a tree, no fear of falling. My hands, of course, do not have spots or knuckles swollen into knots. Instead, a youngish woman's form, not yet assailed by age's storm, is lithe and not yet bowed by years. So here's to the inside me with cheers. I just wrote this one last week. It's a new one. It's called Miss Ocean's Dress. Miss Ocean wears her blue-green dress, sprinkled with tiny crystal beads that sparkle in the morning sun. She shakes her ruffled petticoats of white and shows off for the passers-by. She dances on the jetty rocks with seaweed hair that streams behind before she dips her head again and swims far out to greater depths to play with dolphins, whales, and fish, and mermaids in their hidden lairs. She sweeps the ocean floor and brings her treasures to the sandy shore, a trove of scallops, slipper shells, and mussels clinging tightly to the kelp. Empty conch shells, pink and clean, pearly stones and worn green glass. Miss Ocean wears her blue-green dress, embroidered with the crystal beads. They sparkle in the morning sun. That's this one I wrote, I think, was one of the first ones I had written. It's in one of my first books. I have 2 books out, and one is called A Jar of Summer, and the other one is Sing Spring, excuse me. And this one was in the first book. It's called Dawn at Farm Pond. The thin skin of ice that coats the brown stubble crackles and splinters like shards of glass beneath my feet. On trees and shrubs, necklaces of crystal beads reflect the new day's sun in rainbow prisms that dance beyond to where a peach and rosy sky has been upended in the honey golden mirror of the pond. And clouds, like great white swans, swim slowly from my sight. I feel my breath come sharp These earthbound eyes with which I see fill up with tears that I'm allowed such beauty given free. I have one more, which is a little lighter vein, and certainly is true. It's called Spring Pickup. Although the trees are nearly bare, I know that spring is everywhere, for crocuses and small green shoots are pushing through and growing roots. And through the last of winter's snow, I catch a glimpse of, what? Oh no, I see what's left of winter's trash. Tin cans and papers? What a stash of cellophane, six-packs and bags, some plastic nips, dog poop, and rags. And now how can humans be so crass as to spoil the spring, alas? But then I spy some walkers who hike the roadsides looking too. They come prepared with sack and box and pick up junk, fish line, and socks until the countryside is clean. At last, spring's beauty can be seen. There you have it.
That's wonderful, Barbara. Barbara Peckham. Now you have 2 books.
Yes.
Are you working on a third?
Well, I have a lot of poems for a third, but I'm not sure I have the money for the third. So we'll see. We'll see. But
and thank you, Barbara Peckham. I'll take this from you. And our next guest.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for coming out on Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. Our next guest is Nan Byrne. And Nan came up with a wonderful idea today that she's going to share with you about her poetry on Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. It'd be better if it was on the other one. Thank you. There you go. And let's do a little sound check on Nan, and so Carl can make sure that everything's copacetic. Go ahead, give us a sound check.
Hey.
A little bit more than that.
Hello.
You want to read a poem?
Oh, okay, for sound check?
Yeah, just a little sound check. Carl, how does that sound? Come on. Come on in, Ellie. All right. Nan Byrne. Now, Nan, tell us, today was Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. Tell us what you did to celebrate Poem in Your Pocket Day.
Well, I was sort of like the Easter Bunny, and I filled up my basket full of little poem scrolls, which, and the poem that I chose for this sort of outing was called Chappie Ferry, and I took them down to the ferry dock where I handed out the poems to people that were waiting for the ferry, and was very well received. It was quite a nice event for me to find that people were very happy to take a poem and put it in their pocket.
And so I'm getting on the ferry, and you're standing there with your Easter bunny basket.
Here comes the crazy lady, knock, knock, knock.
No way. You were
Yes.
going up to the cars?
Well, you know, it's kind of windy today, so people had their windows rolled up, and, you know, when we're waiting, we're on the phone, and, you know, generally.
I would think you coming up with the basket, it was like, can you spare $1?
Well, people at first were a little suspicious of my motivations, but I figured the little flowers and the, you know, poem in your pocket sort of ribbon there that I just kind of caught people unaware, and it was kind of, it was a nice reception though once they found out that they were going to get poetry.
Yes.
So, and not an advertisement or something like that, or a coupon.
All right. So now you get them, they open the window and you give them your introduction, and then you finally get them opening their hand to accept the poem.
Yes, and several people asked for more.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. So I was kind of heartened by that. That you know, several people wanted it for a spouse or a child, and so they didn't want to leave someone out.
Oh, how beautiful!
So yeah, so I gave away 50 poetry scrolls in a little under 35 minutes. So
wow,
I mean,
what
just
does that
not with
say?
the Chappie Ferry.
What does that say?
I think people are open to poetry, and certainly they wanted to unravel them and sort of see what was inside. So I think there was that element too.
Did anyone ask you to recite the poem?
No.
Okay.
No. They were friendly, but...
Now, I can't wait to hear the poem that you have been passing out today. So share your poem.
The name of this poem is Chappie Ferry, and it's actually written in a style that isn't in the general way in which I write, which tends to be a little bit more serious and a little less metric, more free verse. But I'll go ahead. It's called Chappie Ferry. The little boat goes back and forth, a steadfast engine against the tide, shuttling industry from dock to dock in darkness and in light. The captain's granite-shapen mist upon the open deck stands fast as island winds rain wild. A weathered silhouette in field of boiling waves, his yellow drowning suit remarks the epitaph of souls now lost of this untamed place. Wash over bow and lavish flag, stiff against the shore. We are this boat, we are this fragile wooden cage, heaving from coast to coast, steering the narrow channel, duties set by faith, struggling against the current, beneath its surface gray, like flowers on a garden wall we cling, half-timbered facades to shelter our fate. As pointer star relinquishes north, as reference turns to scratching sand, slate sky lies heavy above our heads. In God's open meadow we find routine. Surrender not against the storm. The good endure. The little boat goes back and forth. So it's sort of a poem that's sort of a testimony to, you know, the journey that the ferry makes every day. And, you know, I've actually told people at the Cleveland House that this was inspired. I wrote it 2 weeks ago because I run in Edgartown weekly. And so my normal run is down Water Street from where I am up on Pease Way. And by the time I reach the ferry, I'm exhausted. So I sort of stand there and watch the ferry go back and forth. And I think, you know, we do this for a reason. We just endure, you know, something that's good for us. So
I love I love this line. We are this boat. We are this fragile wooden cage.
Quite serious.
Heaving from coast to coast. I like that, coast to coast. Steering the narrow channel, duties set by faith. There's a lot in that one stanza, Nan.
Yeah, I think, and when people get it home, they've maybe got a little surprise.
Oh,
and
definitely.
Had a little weight to it.
Oh, how beautiful.
So
may I keep this?
Yes.
Oh, I'd like one of the scrolls.
Yes,
I want the whole thing. I don't want
there you go.
Oh, thank you. And look, isn't this wonderful? Over here on the one shot, please, Carl. How Nan created the scrolls of the poem she just shared with us. Isn't that beautiful? That's an art unto itself. I could see why people were asking for several.
Yeah, and this is
It's
from
very
the
generous of you.
secondhand store down there on Summer Street. So
Only on Martha's
after
Vineyard.
Easter, they were, you know, pretty
Yes.
well priced.
Oh.
So that went out well. I have another one if you want.
Yes, go ahead,
one
Nan.
more.
Yeah.
And this is sort of in the same vein. It's kind of philosophical poetry. This is called Elements. Life is simple physics. We are part of the material universe. Like the elements, we rise only as high as the mass that pushes us up or floats below us like a raft. We, like water or air or even fire, no more choose the path we follow than a drop of rain chooses direction as it races across a car windshield, or grain decides which way to bend when the wind blows, into or against. So, just sort of little, like I said, sort of serious stuff I tend to write.
Yeah, that does. Let me see. As part of Cleveland House Poets, the oldest poetry group in the history of Martha's Vineyard, they've been meeting at Cleveland House for over 50 years. And they have a style that was established by the founder, Dionys Coffin Riggs. And it continues to this day. And Cleveland House Poets have been meeting every 2 weeks for over 50 years. But what we do is someone like Nan, Lee McCormick, other members, we have about 24 members. They come in, they bring a poem, an original poem, each time we meet, and they share it. And just like Nan did, Nan will read her poem to the group, and then someone else will read it so that she can hear and appreciate her poem in another voice, another cadence, another rhythm with different emphasis. So I'm going to read Nan's poem that she just read, so you get an idea what happens at Cleveland House Poets. The title is called Elements. Life is simple physics. We are part of the material universe. Like the elements, we rise only as high as the mass that pushes us up or floats below us. Like a raft, we, like water, are air, or even fire, no more choose the path we follow than a drop of rain chooses direction as it races across a car windshield. Our grain decides which way to bend when the wind blows into or against. I love the drop of water going across the windshield. You know, it's very graphic.
Yeah, it's sort of a, you know, philosophy, and I think that comes through in the Chappie Fairy, same sort of thing.
Many levels to your poetry, Nan.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You give me that clip off.
Okay.
There. Very good. Okay, and I thought we had Ellie. You want to come up and share a poem or two? And then Lee's going to come up and finish out, but please have a seat. This is Ellie Bates, who is joining us today on Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. If you've just come in, this is live television, broadcasting from the MVTV studios. And we're celebrating in this live broadcast Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. My name is William Waterway. I'm your host. And with me we have Ellie Bates, a poet of renown on Martha's Vineyard, a rabble-rouser of a poet. And we're going to get Ellie all hooked up with some sound.
Okay.
And have Carl do a sound check. Could you begin reading something so that Carl Holt, who is our technician on the television studio set here, does a lot of the technical, I would say everything that we do in our broadcast. Carl is the brains behind setting it up and doing all the wiring. And even this live broadcast, we had to set up a special facility here so that we could accomplish this today, thanks to Carl and to Steve Warner, the station's manager.
Right. I'm moved by the color of spring.
Yes, and you're dressed in the color.
Yes, and actually it started out this morning with my coming to my exercise class,
Yes.
and one of the instructors remarked, "Don't we look pretty in purple?" And I said, "Well, it's to celebrate it's Poem in Your Pocket Day, and I have to be ready for my audience, wherever that audience is." And I'm honored to be here.
Did you read a poem at the exercise class?
Well, I told people about the event to be expecting
But you didn't read a
miracles.
poem to your exercise class?
I think I was worried that I was going to take up too much time. There's always time for poetry.
No, there isn't.
We always have to make time.
Yes.
But the inspiration, I think, of the day, for me anyway, was to even go online earlier and find out what other people were doing besides us. And I looked at a site that was for school children, poems by children in New York City. And my daughter right now is teaching in Chicago in an 8th grade class, student teaching. And actually the day began with my texting her to say, you know, it's Poem in Your Pocket Day, and was hoping maybe she was going to do something with that, you know, with her class. Whether or not, you know, it happened, maybe I'll hear from her tonight. But anyway.
Did you give her a hint? You know, I've been a good mom to you all these years. You know, and a poem about your mom would be a wonderful thing on Poem in Your Pocket Day. You know?
I don't.
Hint?
Well, or I think it's just if we could inspire other people. I mean, what Nan just said,
Yes.
that other people were interested in the written word.
Absolutely.
And they wanted more. And so
Yes.
all we could hope is young people are also interested, and we know on this vineyard we do have some very fine young poets.
We do, and we've been working with all the schools for decades.
Right.
I know I have with the Lighthouse Poetry. But yeah, and Nan, you handed out 50 poems in how long?
Right.
Half hour. So you could have handed out hundreds of poems today. Yeah. My God, that's wonderful.
Right, right.
So you're going to share a poem or two?
Right.
Let's see what you have, Ellie.
Okay, this one is...
Any haiku?
There may be.
There may be. Okay.
This one is called April's Palette.
Yeah.
Tiny yellow forsythia bells like line supple stalks waving a conductor's wand. Gold trumpets of daffodils, pinkle-tink silver voices herald spring. Purple hyacinth bulbs fill the crisp air with intoxicating perfume. Amaryllis bulbs awake, huge crimson flowers stand along jade leaves. Hellebores, ivory and pink, bloom through the snow like early roses. Pansies, magenta, blue, and fuchsia smile our deserved delight. Sun's strong orange rays, blood-red full moon, inspire us to paint a new life. And because of the colors that are mentioned, and my most favorite is purple.
Wonder why?
Purple.
I'm beginning to see a theme.
I think there, so I was inspired to find this poem, which is a beautiful verse, and it was written by Moshaddin Sadi, who was a major Persian poet of the medieval times. It is just one of the many beautiful verses in his book, Gulistan, the Rose Garden. And this is the poem. If of thy mortal goods thou art bereft, and from thy slender store 2 loaves alone to thee are left, sell one, and with the dole buy hyacinths to feed the soul. And I did do my planting last year, and I do have some beautiful hyacinths, and everywhere you go around the island, here we are in full bloom.
Yes.
And poetry, I like to think, is at its highest
Yes.
sense.
Hyacinth. No, nice play on the words. Right.
But anyway,
we poets do that. See, hyacinth becomes highest synth.
And
so we do those.
just a remarkable time of year, and just a wonderful time for poetry. But it's something we do year round.
It's true, and you are part of the founding of the group in Edgartown.
Yes.
The Martha's Vineyard Poetry Collective, or Poets Collective.
Right.
And Ellie's also a member of the Cleveland House Poets.
Right.
She helps organize events at Featherstone. One of them that is coming up is the Summer Solstice, where Ellie will be hosting, and we'll have a collection of island poets.
Right. The last event that was at Featherstone, and that was another reason, I think, for my not being right out there in the community as much today to really hand out poems, but I was taking down poetry with art at Featherstone, because that exhibit, which was poetry and art, ended yesterday officially.
Wonderful, wonderful exhibit.
So
thank you for doing that.
We had a lot of fun with that. And
so did you read a poem while you were taking down the poetry?
I was reading poems by Mary Oliver, by E. Cummings, original poetry by Harry Seymour. So there was quite an array.
So
and
where did you read today? In Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. Where did you read?
Oh, well, I was reading out loud at Featherstone to have people be aware of, let's not forget these words, even though we're taking them down.
Perfect. Perfect.
Not to be forgotten, right?
Yes. Yes.
But anyway, that's the other power of the written as well as the spoken word.
Yes.
For sure. But this is...
Do you have a haiku to share?
I have one from the Poets Collective book. which prisms of branches bending light from cloudless sky, holding on to day. Mounds of scallop shells, discarded, not forgotten, abundant beauty. And those are the two images that happen to go with. Anyway, yeah, I think we have different ways of getting inspired.
Yes, in endless ways.
Endless ways, and maybe even today, like with Nan or with my little announcement, you know, people will go home and think about this day, not only for today, but for a while.
Thank you, Ellie, for everything that you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And wait a minute.
Okay.
Let me take this off so that you don't go walking off stage and have a minor catastrophe. Hang on. You just should give me the whole necklace because it's, you know, and then we could keep it on stage as part of our celebration.
Actually, that would be pretty nice. Thank you.
Well, that was Ellie Bates, and I'm going to share with you what I did briefly before coming over. Again, we are broadcasting live from the Martha's Vineyard television studios. We are celebrating in this live broadcast Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day as part of the national celebration where people all across America are sharing poems from their pockets. And before coming over here to the TV studios, I did a live broadcast at Stop and Shop. And they put me on the intercom system. And you've heard the manager of Stop and Shop when he tells you, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's special in the meat section is hamburger at 1/2 price." So I got on that intercom and I read a couple of poems. But I'm just going to share with you, we have another guest coming up, Lee McCormick, the Martha's Vineyard Poet Laureate. I'll share with you Winter's Concert, a poem that I wrote back in the 80s when I was living in a cabin in West Tisbury, 2 miles back in the woods, with an outhouse, a hand pump for water, and it was a one-room cabin with a wood stove and a tiny little loft. And I lived there for quite a few years. And then when we had the big snows, my truck was not four-wheel drive back then, but so it couldn't make it back, so I would have to hike from my truck with my dog back to the cabin, pulling a sleigh with maybe some food on it. And one night I was coming back and it was dark out, the wind was howling, and my dog was walking with me and I'm pulling the sleigh, and then I stopped about a mile along the road and just listened. And from that came this poem. Winter's Concert. Singing through sparkling night sky, sound of winter's chilling cry. Trees dancing with delight to a tune, sung in chorus beneath a smiling moon. Gurgling brooks joining in, beneath ice, giggle and grin. Banging branches and sweeping leaves, providing backup beneath heaven's eaves. And piercing through it all, a night owl's crying call. Oh my goodness, what sound and sight to an audience of winter's night, all for the price and worthy donation, your precious gift of imagination. So thank you. It's Winter's Concert, and like Ellie said, and Nan, we just, sometimes a poet just captures a moment and it becomes a poem. My name is William Waterway, and we're here at MVTV broadcasting live in celebration of Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy your Martha's Vineyard Poem in Your Pocket Day. Read a poem to someone you know. I'm sure they'll enjoy it. Until again.